Hi, this is remember that thing last week in the last anime club where Kat was like, "Hey, Sage should make her prediction before we record." This is that.
Of what I think her criticisms would be.
Right. So, welcome to Sage guessing Kat's problems. Kat's critiques.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like for sure, I think she's going to think that Menma is annoying on some level. Not constant, but I do think to some degree she's going to be like, she's kind of pissing me off.
Right. She's going to be like, I was hoping that bitch would fucking leave, and she kept sticking around.
And then my other prediction, these are like the two major ones. My other prediction is that she's going to be like, I don't get why Popo had an outburst in that last episode.
Like that it's unearned?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
he's the one that gets like the least kind of like, not, I guess build-up is the wrong word, but like the least hints.
Right.
So that's what I think are going to be her critiques.
There are Sage's cat critiques, predictions.
Guesses.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys in the episode for when you figure that out.
Yeah.
Intro.
Woo!
Hi, welcome to the Vaguely Anime Podcast. I am one of the hosts this evening, Michael, followed by other host, Kat.
Hi.
And other host, Sage.
That's me.
And it is Anime Club for one of the greatest anime of all
time.
This is Anime Club for Anohana, so you better have fucking watched it. And if you haven't, don't spoil yourself.
If you haven't watched it, you're just doing a disservice to yourself. Like, no lie.
We will try to actually have a somewhat coherent, I feel like, non-spoiler version, just for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The show is so short. Just go watch it and then come back.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But like, it's not going to be long, but like, at least we'll try to at least have a slightly
like
more defined one than usual.
The non-spoiler is going to be like, it was good. All right, spoilers.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go a little better than that.
I mean, we can, but you know what I mean.
That means you're starting. But
I'm starting,
for
okay.
Anohana, like I said last time when I was describing the show for the last Anime Club when I introduced it, it's a show about grief.
Yeah.
And learning to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that is about where I'll stick with that description.
Yeah.
So, Sage, if you want to give your...
Okay, so general thoughts. I'd already seen the show before, so this was a rewatch for me. And honestly, like, even rewatching it, I think I had actually a better experience rewatching it than like the first time I watched it through. Because I remember like my first time watching it, I was like, I thought it was a little bit slow at the beginning, and then there was like this major payoff at the end, which I did think was satisfactory.
Right.
But watching it this time, like with the ending in mind, I was like, I picked up on a lot more stuff, and I was like, oh no, my first impression's wrong. Completely wrong. Like, this story is paced perfectly.
Right.
Like, if they had done any more, any less, you know, like, it would have thrown it off. But it balances itself really well. I think the show looks great. The OP never skip. Let it play every single time.
ED too, for that matter, for me.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes skip it just because, like, I'm like, I just want to get to the next episode.
Yeah.
But it is good.
I don't think I listened to the end.
No? So most of the time it was also shortened itself because the episode would go over and it would just jump into, like, probably the last 30 seconds.
Right.
But, yeah.
But yeah, so I think, like, the show looks really good.
Also, visually, the OP and ED, very cute.
Yeah.
OP especially is the ED especially is very cute.
I also, oh, fuck, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Now. You keep cutting me off.
God.
So rude. What was I saying? Show looks really good. And then I was going to say something. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't thinking about it the first time I watched it, but the voice acting is really well done. Like, I feel like everybody really, like, nails their performances, and, like, you can really, like, feel everything they're feeling. And
Right.
I think if it was anything else, like, it would kind of...
Did you watch sub or dub?
I watched it in dub.
Okay.
Which, this is not a complaint on the show, but this is a complaint for Crunchyroll. There was no subtitles available, which I thought was very annoying. Because anything I watch, I essentially have to have subtitles because I can't hear anything.
Right.
And so it's either I have everything...
I can't hear without my subtitles.
Exactly. It's either everything is so loud to the point where I'm, like, deafening myself, or I make it too quiet where I'm missing half of what they're saying. And that's obviously not the show's fault, but no subtitles. Netflix had subtitles.
I didn't even try. So I didn't know that.
I try every time immediately. First thing I do.
I feel like
Subtitles.
Funimation, I usually just don't. I mean, Crunchyroll, I usually just assume there aren't.
Really?
Funimation, I always look, but
No, I feel like a lot of the shows do have it. If I'm at my computer watching, then I usually don't go for subtitles. But if I'm watching on my phone, then or like my iPad or something, like I feel like I need it. But I watch this at my computer, so that's why I didn't happen to look for it for this show.
But yeah, overall, I think this show is really excellent. I just think the themes that they want to explore, I think they just nail it. I feel like all these poor people live such tortured lives, which we'll go further into once we get to spoilers. But yeah, no, I think it's a great show. I enjoyed myself immensely watching it. You know, you can't watch it without ugly crying. You have to look horrendous. You need nobody to look at you, talk to you for the next day,
right
to unwind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great show.
All right, Kat.
Okay.
She's gonna be like,
boy.
shit.
No, I did like the show. Though, my one thing is, I felt heartless because you guys said I was gonna cry so much. I only cried in the last episode.
No,
Oh,
that's
same.
that's valid.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, like
well,
that-
you were
that-
just saying the
I mean,
whole
like,
thing.
yeah, well, like crying as it, like, if you didn't cry at all at any point,
Only
you'd be
the last-
heartless.
No,
For me,
literally-
it's also just the last
Wait.
episode, but the last episode, and then it's like ugly
I
crying.
was in the last episode, and it was like almost over, and I was like, I haven't cried. I'm gonna get in trouble. I was like, oh my god! And I shit you not. 30 seconds later, it like hits me.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, what the fuck? Like it was such horrible timing on my part, being like, oh my god, like I didn't
Right,
cry.
right.
Like they were just like, oh, just wait,
Yeah.
just wait. But I agree with everything that Sage said. Like, I really don't have many critiques for this show. I won't say, like, I think that you guys definitely like it more than I did. I don't think that it's like this, masterpiece and everything. But I did enjoy watching it. That's.
I mean, I would arguably say that this deserves a masterpiece stamp.
I'd agree.
Just like I mean, I think I've said it before on the podcast, but like for me, if something can get me to cry, it's usually already like
I cry too easily that I
I
can't.
don't.
I can't.
I've gotten much easier. It's gotten so much easier for me to cry the older I've gotten. I've realized.
Yeah,
but
me
like,
too.
yeah, but like, still, if something can like, especially make me like, because I will say it's gotten easier for me for my eyes to like water up and like maybe a tear to get out.
Tear guy?
Right, but like if something can get me to cry,
Right.
like that probably already gives it like a 9,
Right.
like, and then like I don't know, I just think everything about the show itself is just so well done, and like you believe all the reasons for these characters to have the struggles they're going through, and I feel like it's, if not like necessarily relatable, it at least is like comes from a frame that you can totally understand how they got to that.
Yeah.
Regardless of like how they went about dealing with their grief, I don't know. I think it does everything really well, and it makes it you relate to the characters like almost immediately, and understand how they all got to where they are and the story behind it. Which I think says just a lot for the writing and story itself. Plus, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
And it's like for this kind of anime, it's pretty down to earth, which I think really helps it. Even with some of its like a bit like absurd, I guess.
More like fantastical
yeah.
elements.
Right. And I feel like it pays everything off. And it will. I will have a question to bring up when we get into the spoilers for this, which I guess we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's my general. It's just like everybody should watch it.
Yeah.
Regardless of if you view it as a masterpiece or not, I feel like it is something that everybody should watch. And that's that. So
Not even 10 minutes.
spoilers from here on out.
I mean, it's so short. I feel like
know.
it's very hard. If it was like 24 episodes, it would be easier.
But
I feel like
it does
even-
not need it though.
I feel like even shows that we have with 24 episodes, we struggle to do the non-spoiler.
But it
I
also
guess
it
that's
doesn't
true.
need to be long. I feel like it's just talk about the animation and the writing and,
Right.
and pacing,
guess
and then
so.
just like, all right, yeah, that's all kind of good or it's bad, and then you just kind of move on, just so people have a general idea.
General feel.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, spoilers from here on. So again, if you have not watched the show, don't let us be the reason that you just
Don't watch.
yeah, like
Because I feel like no matter how far into like explaining something we go, like it's not the same like listening to us talk about it as it is like watching it. You know, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like if you watch somebody like do a review on like a movie or whatever, and then you go and watch the movie, like it's not the same feeling.
yeah. Even if they do a great job, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Of like experiencing it on your own. So go do that. And now now we'll just all right, open discussion, spoilers.
Yeah, what was your question?
All right, so my question has to deal with the last episode.
Okay.
The notes, right?
Yeah.
That they get.
Yeah.
Where you're already crying your eyes out.
Right.
I've always had this question, and I bring it up to anyone that I know has watched it. So I might have asked this to you before. Would you want to know that the person that you cannot be with did love you and wanted to marry you?
No.
I always was like, I don't think I'd want to know. I feel like I'd be stuck on that forever.
I was literally thinking how that's fucked up.
But I've known so many people that are like, absolutely, that would help me move on.
Really?
Yeah, I would want to know.
No, like literally no, because you can already tell that he can't move on, and then for that added that you have both like said you wanted to marry each other, but you will never be able to. It's not possible. I feel like I would be stuck on it forever.
I feel like knowing, right, that they wanted to have that kind of relationship, him knowing that, even though yes, it's not possible, it's almost like it's like a married couple where one dies, right? You knew and you had that experience and you still can cherish it, but then you can move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
I don't think I'd be able to move on from that.
Being
so
stuck
I don't know.
with the question would be like a heavier burden to never get any kind of sense of, was it unrequited love or was it something we were both mutually feeling?
I guess.
Yeah, like I've always had this question because the first time I watched it, I was like, that's horrible. I would never want to know.
Right.
But the more I think about it and the more I talk about it with people, I'm like on the fence where I'm like, I don't think I'd want to know, but also I do totally understand that would be closure too. Of like, you have the answer that you wanted to know, and you know that it can't happen, but you know that she did care about you.
I would want to know, but I just don't think I'd be able to get past it. So like, yeah, I'd want to know if it was mutual. Like I would absolutely want to know that, but I just don't think that would be closure to me. Like I feel like ignorance is bliss, and I feel like that would have been better because then it's so easy to harp on the fact that it can't happen. It never will happen. And she's just gone. Like, I don't know. So
I can see that point of view, but I also I see it as like a more like, they always say like time is healing.
Yeah.
And
so maybe eventually, but definitely
I feel like
a while.
By the time he's
also he's really young, so I feel like that's even worse.
Really, I feel like that's better because he gets that closure.
He's got what's her name right
Anjo?
there that wants to be right with him. So I mean, like he can understand this, and she could be like, hey, so
I'm available.
Yeah. You're like, hey, man, what's up? And he'll be like, I'm too depressed now, and like a week will go by, and she'll be like, all right, but like. And
I'm
be like,
still
okay.
available.
You know? So, like, he's got that going for him.
Yeah. But in terms of, like, going into spoilers and all that, I guess because, like, the last episode is obviously, like, this huge payoff to everything that they were setting up in the first 10 episodes. I forgot, like, a lot of small details throughout the show, and I forgot how absolutely depressing like her family that's still here, like how depressing their lives must be, like the mom, the tortured life she must live, and then like the brother who feels like he's been totally forgotten about, and he's just like, I'm still here, like do you even know, like him being like, do you even know how tall I am? Like when it's been 5 years, like I've grown up so much and you don't even realize it. Like you completely forgot that you have another kid. Yeah. You know? And then
also her hating like the kids.
Yep. Right. When they were like, oh, she hates us.
Like I feel like that's so uncalled for.
No, it's just
it's like, yes, it is. The blame shouldn't be on them, but it's also clearly a mother that cannot process her own feelings and is blaming the people she hung out with.
She needs to go to therapy because
no, it's like Yukiatsu and his like, just rage that he feels and towards Jintan and like the connection that he had with Mema, right?
Yeah.
And he feels this just boiling jealousy, but also he can't let go of what was there, and he feels like, I don't know if he thinks like he can do something to like change it,
but I feel like
he's
it's also hard for him because he was already jealous like when
Right.
she was alive.
Right.
So I feel like that just like made it worse.
Right.
Whereas like after she died, like the mother then.
But I
started
mean,
feeling that.
it's in the same way though that like they blame themselves,
Right.
all for different reasons. That like she was with them, and so she dies when with them. The mother gets so like I don't think it's that. I don't know if like, because they never really say but or elaborate, but the way I would imagine it is that like her grief over the like 5+ years that has been festering has like contorted into hatred for them. Like I don't think, at least to me, that it would have started that way.
Mm-hmm.
That like Menma died and she's like, it's your fucking fault, you fucking asshole kids. I think it's more like, I can't believe I let this happen, and then that just over time contorts into you kids are the reason she's dead, is how I at least imagine it happening.
It's that thing of like, you need to find a reason as to why it happened, because if it's something that is not in anyone's control, whether she died on that day or not, and she was going to regardless of if she was with those kids or not, right? Like the whole fate thing. But a lot of people, they need like something concrete to latch onto, to be like, this is why it happened, and something to like pour their anger and like emotions into that is tangible,
Yeah. So that's how I at least think about it, is that like, yeah, it's fucked up, but like I don't think it necessarily started that way. And like the show goes on, it's like she never moved on, and she completely fucking just doesn't acknowledge her other kid, which does lead to that great moment though when he's like, you don't know how even tall I am. I'm going to this firework thing. I'm gonna do this, and you can just fucking sit here. I don't care.
And I feel
the dad walks over and is like, we have to grieve
together as a family to like actually be able to move on, which I really like that moment. I think that's like super touching.
And it like leads to the brothers there, helps them do the whole thing, and then they're sitting in the car watching it from like a distance, and she actually acknowledges them, which I think is the whole point, is like it finally like made her realize that it's not their fucking fault. Like they are trying to, because they feel the guilt themselves. And I think that's like a great just full circle moment for that whole thing itself.
It allows her to finally let go.
Yeah. Or at least start the process.
Right.
Which, again, for all of these characters is like, they all need a kick. It just depends what that kick is. For her, it was her own kid being like, you don't even know how tall I am.
Right. Like you essentially neglected me for 5 years.
Yeah. And then the firework is more just like, for her, it was more just like the thing that was happening, but her kid is the reason that it actually starts.
Right.
And the firework is more just, I think, at least to her, a representation of like, these kids aren't to blame because they feel it themselves and are trying to get over it too.
Right. What they're doing isn't like rubbing it in my face.
Yeah. They're not doing this to spite you, even though you think they are.
Right.
They are doing this for themselves because they feel horrible.
Right.
And so like there's that, and then it's what, the episode before the last where they all break down to the shrine. Is it the last episode?
I think that's the last episode.
Yeah. Or is it the last?
Yeah.
The same thing.
So.
I think so.
Where all of them finally have their breaking points to like then move on from, where each character starts snapping at each other, and where me and Sage talked about this yesterday, where she brought up Popo when he finally like breaks, and that like it kind of can feel like it comes out of nowhere because nothing has really. He hasn't really had his moment in the show, minus the one part where he learns that he can talk to Menmo when she's in the shack, and he's like, did you see?
Yeah.
And then immediately is like, what do you want to eat or whatever?
Right. Let's play a game.
Yeah. Where he needed every single other person to break and not be able to help them for him to finally break, because his trauma is so severe. Like,
I felt like it was more to see them all break made him feel like he was allowed to break more. That's how I took it, at least.
Yeah, for me, I took it as like, because he's been the person trying to keep it all together, and he's the one that believed that Menma was actually there to begin with. That, like, for him, he needed everyone else. He needed to finally hit a point where he couldn't hold them together, where then he only could focus on himself, and that's where he breaks. And I think it's also one of, like, the most powerful scenes too, because he's the one that saw her fucking floating away and did nothing because he was a child and didn't know how to deal with it. But like, as an adult, he's like, he's
not even an adult yet.
Yeah, right. As what, 17?
I don't
16?
even think.
I was gonna say like
16.
16, 15 years
I
old.
guess I can figure that out.
Because it's 5 years,
Right.
and there were like 10 when she passes away.
Yeah.
Well, because he's been traveling the world and working random like construction jobs. I kind of figured he had to be somewhat older.
No, I think they're
you
all the
work-
same
He is the
age.
youngest of the group, but
you can work here at 14.
yeah, that is true. I'll figure this out. But regardless,
Right.
Also, like, with their consent age there, I wouldn't be surprised if you could work really early too.
I guess that's fair. They did raise that though.
Really?
Yeah. I fucking.
While you look that up, I feel like Sudako and Yukiatsu have such an interesting dynamic. Like,
I feel bad for her.
I feel so bad for her. Like, this poor girl. She's not even. She's not his first choice. She's not his second choice.
Not his last choice.
Like,
I don't.
like, girl is just
I don't know
there.
if it was not a choice. I feel like he just never thought she liked him that way, and so he never even thought about it. Because
No,
so
I
he's
don't-
not.
no,
she's not a choice.
Because once it came out, he was like, I never knew, and then during like the wrap up, he gave her the hairpin. Mm-hmm. So like,
he gave it to her. I thought she was just wearing because she had one.
no, she had the one.
She had the
she was
original
wearing
one.
a new. Oh,
She was wearing the one he bought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
had the original
Because it wasn't
one.
beat up.
Yeah, I didn't
So
pick up on that.
I think it was purely that I don't even think that wow, I'm fucking awful with these names. Anjo.
Oh.
That like I don't even necessarily think that she was his second choice. I think that he was just latching on to the person that was talking to him, that was like opening up. And like because Surmi never like really opened up to him. It was just they hang out. They're friends, but like
I feel like that's not, in my opinion, like how I always took their relationship was, it always seemed to me that she was, cause she knew him so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they first see him running around in the woods dressed up as Menma, she's like stopping everybody else. She's like, no, he needs to go through this, right?
Yeah.
Like, she knows him to his soul, right? And I feel like the interactions they have, it's very clear that when they're talking, like, he must know that she knows him on that level, right? Mm-hmm. Because she'll call him out on his bullshit, and she'll be like, why are you doing this, right? And even he's like sometimes taken aback with like how accurate she is on what he's doing, or like the things that he's saying that he shouldn't be, because he knows that he's just saying it out of like anger and grief and pity for himself, and like the fact that he can't move on. So like, for him to go to Anjo, even though it's like this throwaway thing for him, it's like, you have this girl here who's been nothing but fucking loyal to you.
Yeah.
Like, ride or die. She's like, even when you see, she's like, you don't even understand like how hard I have to work to keep up with you, to be this top student
to be in this school with you.
Right, but
yeah.
she never once ever admitted any of that to him.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like,
no, but
I
he
don't
doesn't
know.
know. Like, to him,
So
she's
he's an
just that
idiot?
good.
So
I think
he's
he
an
should
idiot?
have.
Yeah.
I think he should have thought about her at some point.
No, because it is. He never thought about her because he's so attached to Menma, and I think that he doesn't actually even view like
Anjo
as an option really, because he's still so attached to Menma that he's just like picking her. Like, not that like it's not even like an over the other. I think it's just the fact that like because he doesn't look at her in a way that like she's been doing all this for him to be near him, whatever. She's just like there, and Anjo is now this person that like he knows that she is stuck on Jintan, and he can try to like get in and be like, hey, he's not gonna say yes, but like I'm already saying yes, like as also a fucked up way to get over on Jintan.
I fucking hate Yukiatsu. Worst character.
Like, but like
He's such a piece of shit.
Yeah, but like I feel like I never looked at that in terms of like malice to her. It does suck. That absolutely worst case scenario for her.
Yeah,
because he's an idiot and he's
girl
broken.
is in the trenches the whole
Yeah,
show.
but but I don't think that he isn't viewing her as like fucking third last pick. I just don't think that like because he's so caught up in it that he's not even an option.
It not even being thought about means she was just never an option.
But then once he's told that she likes him, he immediately is like, I never knew, and then he goes to her.
But that doesn't feel right either. That just feels absolutely like a rebound. He's like, oh shit, that's there.
I mean,
like,
I guess
I'm gonna
both
move on
of the
from
girls.
Menma.
I think both of the girls are rebounds in that regard.
I
then.
know,
but like,
it's awful.
but
like once he realizes it, he realizes that like Anjo's not the pick.
No,
he gets it. Like,
I think the fact that she's not just the rebound for Menma, she's the rebound of the rebound.
I don't think she is though.
Like,
that's not how I view it.
At least from like a female perspective, I was like, damn.
I view him as going after Anjo as like not like a serious thing.
No, it's obviously not serious.
I think it's just with his
but
jealousy.
It's the implication of him doing that, picking Anjo, regardless if he really meant it or if he was just like, I'll fuck around and find out, right?
Yeah.
But for Sudoku, like, I feel like if I was in her shoes, I would be like, damn, I've been left to like I got kicked to the curb.
Yep.
Like,
but she doesn't care.
Like I'm over. Like I'm done with. Like I will never have a chance.
Yeah.
No matter how much I try to strive for this. Right. So like that's what I think. Regardless of what his actual feelings are, like from her perspective, I feel like that's probably what she's feeling.
Yeah.
You know what
absolutely. I mean? Yeah. I'm not trying to downplay her side. Her side is fucked up.
I don't like it written like that all of a sudden, they can be together. Like they just shouldn't. Like she should just.
She needs someone better.
Yes. Like,
yeah, but
absolutely
again, I also think that all of them are very flawed because so should Anaru,
yes.
but she will not.
I know.
And so will Sudoku. She will not
that.
move on, and it's just like that's.
I just don't like it. Like, they should.
Yeah,
just
I mean
move
that's
on.
fair.
People should just move on, and
I mean, but isn't that like the thesis statement of the show?
Yeah, and also
like,
there's still like
on.
15, 16-year-old kids that like the hormones say I love this person and I can't move on from my first love.
I guess so.
I
they
feel
get
like
that post-nut clarity.
The first time both of them finally get laid, they'll be like, oh, fuck, screw this.
No way. Absolutely no way.
Nah, once they get laid, they're doubling down.
Absolutely. I mean, they literally say that you fall in love with your first. So, like, I think it would make it worse. It would make it worse. It just wouldn't work.
And then Popo's just there. He hasn't even got a girl going after him.
No.
But, like, it's fine. He's busy getting laid in, like, fucking Taiwan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that man's been, like, to 40 different countries, and he's just getting laid in all of them.
I know. I remember I forgot that he was, like, traveling the world before he came back. And I was thinking about it. I was like, are 15-year-olds just allowed to, like, go wherever they want? Like, do you not need permission? Like, are his parents dead? I'm so confused.
Oh, he said that he ran away, right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
Because he was saying that...
I know he said he, like, dropped out of school.
He dropped out of school, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he said he ran away. And I just don't think that they I guess his parents didn't care.
They were just like, yeah, whatever. It's
And then
chill.
and then you get the whole scene where like he's talking about all the different girls that like in different countries and how hot they are, and then when Honor moves in for that hot minute and she's
Yeah.
just like cleaning it up after her, he's like, you shouldn't be touching any of that, like stop.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she doesn't give a fuck.
No.
Like, you know, like she's just grabbing the fucking tissues and whatnot, just like fucking move all this stuff, and you're like, wow, all right, I guess you just don't care.
Yeah, I love the trio of Anjo, Popo, and Jintan together. I think they make a great trio. Like they have such good chemistry together.
Yeah.
Like when they're playing the like knockoff Pokemon game together.
Yeah.
And then
What was the fake Pikachu called?
I can't remember.
Oh.
I don't remember what they called it, but I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
And then like
Oh, when she still had the sticker. And Menma's
yeah, on
like,
a tape back
yeah, taped
on.
back on because she totally did rip it off.
Yeah.
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 But it's like such tiny things like that where it's like it just makes every character so human.
And they all fuck up multiple times too. Like
Yeah.
when they bring up the question again, and Honoru like
Yo,
goes into it,
bro.
and like they have that moment where he's gonna fucking run away again, and Popo's like, you can't do this. Like you have to answer the question, and Suruko's the only one that's like, guys, this is really fucked up. We should
Yeah.
not be doing this.
Yeah, no, when I forgot that moment happens and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, damn, this shit is crazy.
And isn't that when we find out that Menma knew the whole time to begin with? That she was like, oh, that's fine. It'll get him to cry. Right? Like, isn't that like that same episode when we find out that like...
Maybe, I think that must be afterwards.
Yeah.
Because if I remember, so they have that scene and he's like, yes, I do. And then it cuts to them, I guess, like walking home or something. And she's like, oh no, I like you too. And he's like, no, but I don't mean it like the way you just like your friend. She's like, I know that. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, she's like,
She's
you
like,
want
that-
me to be your wife.
Right.
Like,
And then
"I
she's
get
like,
it."
do you think if I hadn't died, like we would have eventually gotten married? And he goes through that whole thing of like, well, we can't get married. Like it's a possibility that will never happen at this point.
Yeah.
You know? So I think her being like, oh, this will make him cry, it had to be after that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because as a kid, they're like, she knew the whole time. I told her before we all got there, and she was like, oh, like that's okay. Like I think it'll be good. Like that's fine. They can do this, because like that was her whole thing, like that because right when she's a kid, fucking Suruko goes to Menma and when she's like gonna call them all to brainstorm a way to make him cry.
No, doesn't Menma call her?
No. So Menma calls all of them to figure out a way to make them cry, or make him cry. And during that, fucking Honoru and
Yukiatsu.
Yukiatsu hatch the plan to ask that question.
Oh, separately.
Yeah, and then Suruko goes to Menma and is like, "Hey, they're gonna do this. Jintan was invited. Like you said that you didn't want him there." And she's like, "Oh, that's fine,
Right.
because this will help with my idea."
Yeah.
And then it leads to like, so she knew that question was going to be asked, and that's why she ran after him, was because she was like, "This didn't work out how I planned. He is like, he's not okay, and I got to go after him."
And then this piece of shit Yukiatsu.
Yep. He's like, "Hey, I got you this."
And she's
I
like,
felt
that's
bad for him,
nice.
though. That was sweet. That was
Like, I thought that was
I felt
sweet,
so
but
bad
also,
for him.
like, this kid is such a piece of shit. I was like,
He wasn't really as a kid, though.
wasn't he?
No, he kind of
No.
was, because he had the same thoughts then too, where he was like,
he was plotting.
yeah.
He wanted to ask the question, put him in an uncomfortable situation, and he wanted Jintan to be like, no, I don't like her, so he could swoop and be like, it's okay, Menma,
But
because
one
I like
little
you.
thing just makes it like I don't know. I don't.
No, but
think
like
so.
I think that that
Here's
shows
a hair
that
clip.
that shows that he always was jealous,
Yeah.
and so he was always
But
kind
that doesn't
of
make him a bad kid.
makes him a shitty kid.
No,
Okay,
I feel
as
like
if you've never been jealous or anything.
He's not.
I never had
don't
friends
know
to be
that-
jealous with. All right.
I don't know that he would be considered a bad kid, but I think like with
Dick
the,
move.
with the context of the
Okay.
story, like he was definitely trying to capitalize.
Yeah.
I guess. But
And he
on
was also doing it because then Honoru would be able to.
Be with Juntan.
Yeah. So like they were both doing it for shitty reasons, and then the second time they did it was also for shitty reasons.
I guess it's more of a thing of like, because especially when they're so young, they're like, oh, if this happens, then we both get what we want, and then like the respective people that we want to be with will also be happy. You know what I mean? Like they don't see it in a point of like there's negative consequences following.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know. It's hard to be like a definitive yes, they're pieces of shit. You know. I think Yukiatsu, like
Is the closest.
in the future,
Yes.
is definitely a piece of shit.
Yes.
Like
I agree.
like
As a kid, I don't agree.
yeah, as a kid, I can't be like yes, he is, because it is like very complicated and there's a lot of nuance in there. But as an adult or older teenager,
Yes.
fucking horrible.
Yeah. But that aside, like I think like everyone is shown that they obviously can't move on. Hence the two girls still being like, I can't move on from them. I still love them, and we don't get anything about Jintan and Honoru, right?
Post
At the end, yeah.
No.
But like he's at least moved on. Well, no, they kind of do, right? He goes to school and gives her back her handkerchief, and then like.
I mean, but it's not a definitive like we're gonna be
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
now.
but it's at least like he's trying.
right.
Which but like I just love how the show like goes about slowly touching on the traumas of the kids until it finally like builds up to it.
Right.
Like when I forget the context for what they're doing. I think they're trying to find Menma for the first time.
In the woods.
Yeah, and Honoru almost falls down the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And Jintan like freaks out at her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's like a great moment when he's just like freaks out and he's like grabbing her and he's just like, look where you are, like come on,
Right.
and just like storms off. Like and then you have the moment again where like with him too where. Menma hasn't come back and he goes running after her
Yeah.
and then he sees her by the river and just fucking like sprints towards her and then screams out that she can't touch the water.
Yeah.
Like all of the characters kind of have those moments, maybe not to the same extreme as Jintan since we're spending the most time with him,
Right.
but where they all have like the small breaks in their character to show like what is bothering them and until it finally like builds up to the point where they all break. I think the show does like a great job with that. It makes it feel very like real. And yeah.
I mean, I think that's why this show works so well is like, especially a drama, right? Or something that makes a drama really effective is when the characters feel superhuman. Like you can put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
And you're like, I would also be freaking out constantly
Yeah.
if I was in these circumstances. You know what I mean?
And
like,
it's it makes
just
it
so well written
Yeah.
and so well performed that even if this was like, honestly, I feel like even if this was like an audiobook or something like that, like the visuals obviously aid tremendously.
Yeah.
But if this was like an audiobook, I would be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would just be a mess.
And it almost makes it like from the outside perspective, I feel like you're still kind of sitting there sometimes being like, bruh, she made fucking steamed bread for you. Like, why don't you just have it do it for the friends and the friends will know that you have the proof. But like in the context for them, like he's still not really like processing what's happening. And then when he finally is like trying to explain it to them and they're like why can only, you know, like why can you only see her, why can you only talk to her, like you're just lying to us. Like they finally are like, no, it's not real, and they need the moment where she actually writes in her fucking journal, and they're like, of course he wouldn't think of this because he's a fucking idiot. They're both idiots.
yeah.
But like they still have that like weird crisis of faith about it.
Well, I mean, I think especially for especially like Yukiatsu and Anjo, them being like, this is clearly something that he has come up with himself in his own brain, because he can't move on, and she obviously is seeing that in that he stopped going to school and he's become like a recluse essentially. And for Yukiatsu, it's more like a, why did Menma show up but only for you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why am I not good enough to be able to also interact with her in this
Great
kind of,
payoff for why that is the case too.
right, in this like intimate one-on-one exclusive kind of communication? Why do I not get the same thing? And it just like, all of it is like a perfect through line for what they're feeling and like how they were when she passed away to now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and I think it's like, it makes sense in the story why they wouldn't think about how to like prove it.
Right.
And like, he's not even necessarily like thinking about it, because he is still kind of unsure until I think she makes the actual steamed bread for him.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, because in the first episode, it's brought up with no fanfare. She's just there, and he's like,
I'm
gone
hallucinating.
insane. It finally happened. I've broken.
He's like, the summer heat has gotten me, you know, after all this time of just like being alone in my own house, I finally lost it.
and then like fall hits, and he's like, well, I guess it's not the summer heat. She's still fucking here. Jesus.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh wait, now it's winter time. Fuck.
Straight up winter.
Yeah.
And then like finally they're all like, this isn't real, and she writes in the book, and they're like, of course they didn't fucking think of it. Like, they're both idiots. They're both the dumbest out of all of us.
Yeah.
So like, and then they finally all go to his house, and she makes the steamed bread, and they're just watching like bowls float around, and they're all like freaking out about it. They're like, keep latching onto each other, and they're like, I'm sorry, it's freaky. Yeah. It's like,
I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this floating bowl.
yeah. And she gives the big one to Popo because he's the biggest, and she like doesn't give an answer to Yukiatsu, and he's like, I want to hear it from her, and he's like,
I don't know what you want me to do.
he's like, I don't know what you want me to do here, bud. Like, and he's just like, oh, you take this one because whatever.
I feel like Yukiatsu, like, a part of me, while I do think he's a fucking asshole, like, I feel bad for him. Like, he's so destroyed. Like, his whole life just revolves around her.
When he was in front of the dad, it was just like,
I know
we were kids. But
he's like, but I was in love with your daughter. Like, I have not been able to move on. Please let us do this for her. Like, I just want to do something good for her.
Yeah.
And then there's the moment when the rocket finally goes off, and she's like cheering, and Jintan just turns around and still sees her, and she's like, oh. And then he's like, he just says her name, and Yukiatsu like turns like screaming at him, like, is she still here?
Yeah.
Like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, do you
like,
still
this
see
was
her?
Supposed to be the thing that
Yeah.
released her soul, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the last episode finally where we actually know why she's there, and only he could see her, right? Or is the episode before?
It might be the episode before, because I feel like we keep talking about the last episode, and it seems like too many things are happening. So
because
the
last two episodes like kind of combined.
Because like it slowly near the end starts feeding in the fact that she went and visited his mom.
Yeah.
I think in the second to last episode, we see that flashback where she is like talking with the mom, and then maybe in the last episode where it comes to like fruition,
the wish,
right?
Where she's like, I promise I'll make him cry,
right?
And she like runs out, and she's like, all right, well, that was not what I really meant, but hey, all right, sure. But like you have that moment where like you finally realize why it's only him. Because it's his mom's wish,
right,
for that, and like giving Menma the form to do it,
right. Did they say why it took so long? Like why it was all of a sudden then?
I don't think they ever mention it, because Menma doesn't really even know why she was there until the end. I just assume that it was like their lowest point, maybe. Like I guess if it's like up into interpretation, I would probably just assume that like he is at his lowest point, because if it's about him, right? Because it's not about the others technically, that he is just so broken. He hasn't felt an emotion for 5 years, that it's like this is now finally manifesting itself.
I have to imagine also it's that thing of like he stopped going to school, right? And it was at that point he had already missed an entire trimester of school, and there was no sign of him kind of deciding to come back and rejoin society type deal. So maybe the mom was like, all right,
bitch,
son.
you're going back to fucking school and I'm going to force your hand.
Even if he doesn't go back to school, I think a part of it is just like you have to be able to live
also,
life.
Jintan's dad. Bad dad, chill dad. Where are we at on that spectrum?
I feel like he's
good dude, bad
I
dude.
feel like
I
he's
think he's a good dude with some bad parenting tactics, but he means well.
Yeah. I would probably agree with that. Not the greatest parenting tactics, but he means well.
Yeah.
I agree, not the greatest parenting tactics, but I think like for him he doesn't know I feel like for him there's no like thing he can say or do to change Jintan.
But I think he also knows that, like,
right,
with
but
his wife dying, that like he's like, I don't want to push this kid.
And also I think it would be
the combination of the wife and
Yeah.
his best
yeah,
friend.
right. So I think if he forces his hand, that everything will just become so much worse.
Yeah.
So is it the most responsible thing to do as a parent? Probably not. But also like,
but he does defend his kid for the choices that he makes, like when they
Right.
leave the house and those two older women are there and
Yeah.
he's like, hi, how you doing? Like to make them either interact with them or fucking leave.
right. And also like when they go to see the mom's grave, he's like, oh, are you like blah 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 from work, or was it going to see like
Are
her
you
parents?
sorry about work or going to the parents?
Yeah, and he's like, how do you know about that, right? Like, so
He's
it's
like,
like,
oh,
it's not like the dad's totally oblivious.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, then I'm sorry. Like, I guess I am a pretty bad parent. I don't even know what you're sorry
Right.
for. And it's like, I don't know. It's like he is and isn't.
I think he's a good dude with just some bad parenting tactics.
Yeah.
But also, it could have been worse if he pushed him. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's put in this position where he's a single dad to this fucking traumatized young teenager.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying his best.
And
Yeah.
and I think too, the show almost like, like it gives like a weird respect to mothers. And I know I'm saying that with Menma's mom being kind of an asshole, but like
Kind of.
but it is an asshole. But like that whole thing when they find out that she is still not able to move on, like makes Anaru realize that like mothers just care about their kids so much.
That's why she goes home.
And she's
Yeah.
like, I think I'm gonna go home. And like,
And then when the mom is like, I don't even know why you came back if you're just gonna like not even go to school or whatever, and she's like, shut up, mom. And then she's like, that's not what I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But the mom's like already out of the room, kind of a thing.
and like that it's like, and again with and then like Menma's, the reason why Menma's there too, because it's Jintan's mom's wish that like that it's just that even with Menma's mom being not great, like it's from a place that like you can understand how she got there.
Yeah.
Because of the events, but like that it's still from a place of caring so much about their kid.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't have children, I just think like the idea of having kids and then one of them, because it's always that thing, like you hear that parents say that like kids aren't supposed to die
Yeah.
before the parents, right?
Yeah.
So when they do, even if they're adults and the parents are still alive and the kid has passed away, like I think it just takes away like a part of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing can really replace it. And I think like especially in the realm of like Menma's mom, so her daughter is no longer here, and she doesn't instead of like focusing on the son and like watching him thrive and grow up and become like a respectable person, she would rather stay in the past and like think of what could have been if her daughter had lived. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it's very interesting.
Yeah, I the show just it does a lot, and it asks a lot of like really interesting questions that I think it gives a payoff to basically every single one. And with like the last 10 minutes, I do want to talk about the other notes.
Okay.
Because still, again, full crying. And I think this time too, because I already knew it was going to happen. I was crying like way beforehand too. Like it was already hitting me.
Preemptive crying.
Because I was like, I knew where it was going.
Right.
But I like, it's funny to me because it feels like they are still super impactful, but compared to Jintan's note, they all feel so much less personal.
Yeah.
Like,
no, for sure. They felt like cop-outs, and I know she didn't have much time. Like,
Yeah.
I know she was disappearing.
And she
did her
she
best.
couldn't just do it for Jintan. Like she needed it for everybody.
Yeah.
And like I'm imagining her fading away, being like, writes Jintan's, and she's like, all right.
Oh shit! I got 4 more to go.
And she's like, Popo, you're really funny.
Yeah.
You're
That
awesome.
was the worst one, actually. Like, the other ones were at least like
I feel like
little bit
Popo should have
nicer.
been like, I never blamed you.
I
or
know,
something,
right?
right?
I feel
Like-
like it should have been like, I understand.
Yeah.
Even something that
But
simple.
none of them were like really.
None of them, yeah, except for Jintan's.
Yeah, they weren't. That's why they kind of felt like cop outs. Like they're just
Like, it wasn't like
it
for
really
Popo.
is what you
yeah.
said. Like, oh shit. Like, I guess I do have to write it for everybody else. You're really funny.
Yeah, like, that,
Like, you're so awesome. Great job.
Yeah.
You're responsible. Like, what were the like?
I don't even
Because a
remember.
10-year-old really
You're
thinks about
you're
how
so
responsible-
smart.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's just but like even if it was, you know, like I understand for Popo, right? Like what would it even be for the others? Like
and that's why they didn't do it.
yeah, like because yeah, they were all friends, but like I feel like for Popo it makes sense for like if it was like you know, I understand because like, but I also don't think she probably saw him.
No, I
think she was already dead.
I don't
Yeah.
think she has that context.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
Especially because she wasn't there when they all broke down.
Right,
And
but if
he never finished what he was asking, so that didn't mean nothing to her.
right. But if it was like, even if she had written something like, let's say Jintan's is like, yes, I also was in love with you, right? And then everyone else's one was something along the lines of like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to let go. Like, move on.
But how
blah, blah,
bad
blah.
would that be if all of their notes were the exact same thing? Of like,
I'm not saying they would all be
it's
the same,
okay.
but like something along the same
Yeah.
lines, you know?
It's just taking like I forgive you and then being like opening a thesaurus and being like, all right, so I need
Yeah.
synonyms for, you know, like
synonyms for forgive.
yeah. So it's like it's not all the same. But yeah, I don't know. Regardless of that fact, like it does kind of feel like it, but in the moment. You are bawling your eyes out, like you're just like, you're right, man. He is funny. Oh God.
No, when I saw that, I was like, funny. I was like, she did him so dirty. Just 'cause I know this
But
is-
honestly,
I love
like,
how funny you
no
are.
lie, I feel like throughout Popo, he got the least attention
I know.
in terms of like emotional payoff.
I felt like
He's the backbone, and that's why he gets the least. Like he's constantly shown keep helping them stay together.
yeah,
Right.
I feel like he gets the least time, and I actually feel the worst for him
Yeah.
because he has the most.
He's the most
burden.
traumatized.
Yeah, and like he gets the least.
But you know what
amount
it is?
of
I think a
everything.
part of it is like he was saying when they were kids and they were, you know, in the group, he was saying like, you know, I was an outcast and nobody wanted to be my friend, but you guys were so cool and chill and like you let me hang out, and I was so grateful to just be a part of a group that I just sat back and watched, right? So I feel like a part of that is he wasn't super integral to the group like the other 5 maybe, right? Like
Yeah.
so maybe he was like kind of like an offshoot of the group, you know what I mean? But then when they're older, he even says it, like when they're having that pre-firework party, he's like, Popo's taking the lead now. You
Yeah.
know, like he's the one, he decides himself to like bring everybody and
Yeah.
keep everybody.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe it's something along those lines,
I
but
guess.
Yeah. Well, do we have any other points before we final thoughts it?
oh, my only other thing was I forgot this happened in the first episode where she goes to her family's house and like you see the dynamic in her household.
Yeah.
And the brother's like, why are you putting out food for her? Like,
Yeah.
it's been 5 years, and they even set up little things like that right away.
And I love the
know?
payoff too when Jintan says they went and she flips on him.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so sad too. Just because
Yeah.
I don't want her to ever think of me.
Yeah, like,
because she can see how like
she could read it immediately where none of them could.
right.
Yeah.
Because they think that she's just okay.
Yeah.
But she's like, how dare you? Like, she doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
And she sees that immediately where none of them do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she sees that the mom is just so stuck on her.
Yeah. And I do like the little moment too when she goes to Jintan's mom's little shrine and she's like, your picture doesn't do you justice. Like, you were much prettier in person.
Right.
Between you and me, I also don't like my picture.
Right.
But I guess it was like the only one where I'm not
right.
throwing
But I
the
was always
peace
doing
sign.
like the peace sign, so
Yeah.
they didn't have much to choose from.
Which I think is a very nice little moment too. And like throughout the show, they consistently show that she is consistently going to that and praying to Jintan's mom too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
But
like,
also, I
trying
think
to-
her picture is really cute.
Yeah,
the little
I liked
candy
it.
apple?
Yeah, I think it's adorable.
Yeah. But I really like the moment where she gets mad about it, and it also informs Jintan like when they were gonna do it the second time, and he's like she would be pissed, and I don't know if we should do this, but like I guess we kind of have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he is finally proven right by what she thought, because then the mom fucking flips on him,
Yeah.
and he like finally gets it why, and he feels like really bad about it. So yeah, I think I love that little moment because it shows like she does like she can see that kind of stuff. Like she's not just kind of floating around through the world, not understanding people's feelings. So yeah. Well, I guess we can do the final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Start with you.
Final thoughts. The show is incredible. I feel like I was even more like invested on this rewatch than I was on my first watch through. I picked up on like a lot of smaller moments that I think just helped to elevate the show even more. So if you ever watch the show again, I feel like
probably will.
I feel like it will have a greater impact
Yeah.
than like the first watch through, because then you can kind of like keep certain things in the back of your mind. It's so well written. It's so well paced. All the characters feel so real and human, and you can just understand their trauma and their grief and just, the kind of like thought process they're going through. And it's also interesting seeing like how each person is handling it completely differently. There's no one look to grief. There's no one like solution to moving on, or even to like mask that you're moving on, right?
Right.
So I just think this story is really great. I think it's a very human story. Even if it has like fantastical elements within it, it's still very grounded within like the story it's telling and the themes it wants to like showcase.
Right.
It looks great. Voice acting is incredible. The soundtrack is really good. The OP never skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Also, the OP has great symbolism throughout it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I only listened to it because I didn't want anything to be spoiled, just in case it was. So I'll go back.
It doesn't spoil anything,
but you never know.
You're right.
So I usually
But it does.
just don't.
It does have like it
but
was
once
definitely
you watch
something,
it with
yeah.
context, it can feel like a spoiler.
Like
if
the
that
second,
makes sense.
the second time around, like because this is also obviously the second time I watched it. Like, absolutely, you're like, oh, like you get
I'll
and,
watch it.
Yeah.
and it's really good.
Yeah.
It does a lot to show their own like little journeys within it too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would give the show a 10 out of a 10, and I would highly recommend it if you've never watched it, or even if you have, go ahead and rewatch it. It's just an excellent show. Like
and it still is only 11 episodes. So.
Yeah, it's 11 episodes. It's a very quick watch through. It's super worth it. I think it's like one of those anime that is kind of like a staple, right? Where it's like these are anime that everyone should watch because of XYZ reasons. And I think this would be easily
like Cowboy Bebop and Anohana. Like
yeah,
those
you know
two
what I mean?
shows
Like,
are in like anyone's top. Like you
like,
want to watch anime, watch this.
Like shows you should watch, like Cowboy Bebop or like Evangelion or something
Yeah.
like that. Like is perfect. This could get slotted right into those categories of like you should watch these because they're important and impactful, but also excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that,
So this show's a 6.
yeah, it might be. I gave it a 2.
It's a 3.
Yeah. No, I agree with most of the things that you said. I did think that it was very cute. Oh, what did you say?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
She didn't say any of them.
You didn't say any of them. So I thought my critiques that you were gonna have was I thought you would think Menma is kind of annoying. Because she is obviously very childish.
I mean, she's a child.
Exactly,
So.
but I felt like maybe sometimes with her delivery or I guess like dialogue and stuff, like you would find that kind of annoying after a while.
I actually didn't think that, but I think it's only because I have a lot of patience with children.
Oh,
and
okay.
So she is a child. Like
Right.
even though they're like, oh, she's grown up, like she's still a child. So like I never even thought about that.
And then my other thought was you were gonna critique like Popo and his outburst in the ending, solely because like unlike everybody else, he doesn't really get like a build up for like hints of his trauma kind of a thing. So that's what I thought you would be upset about.
Failed.
I know I didn't 0 for 2. I didn't get either right.
Neither. But I did like the show. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't think it was like a masterpiece. I do recommend it. I did like it. I do think that people should watch it. And like you said, I really agree with how human it is. And it really is easy to put yourself in their shoes to just like think about how you would react if that happened to you, which I really liked. And I just thought it was an overall just really good show. I gave it an 8, so not as good as it. But, you know, I didn't come out here rating it like a 3. So,
Right.
But I did like the show a lot. So
You can like half disregard Kat's opinions. Give it an 8. Like, come on.
I don't know. I
What's
thought you
the
would
show
give it an
rating?
8.
what is it?
It's an 8.3.
So I'm pretty much there.
Yeah, but everyone else is wrong.
Everybody's either giving it an 8 or a 10. So
Yeah, probably,
it's 8.3.
It's ranked 234th, and its popularity is 64th, with 1.5 million people having watched it.
At least on my anime list.
It's over 1.5, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I mean, obviously, I'd recommend it because I picked it. And if nothing else has been proven throughout this episode, I feel like, you know. But yeah, I think this is a masterpiece. It's one of my few 10s, and I apparently can go back to it at whatever and just still cry.
Yeah.
So which I think says a lot about the show itself. That like it'll make you cry. It'll get you there somehow, some way. Something will hit you.
I feel like with this show, because I watched it for the first time maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and I feel like I was more like affected by it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, same.
Because like I found myself crying more through my watch through this time than I did the first time. And I think like it's a show where like with age you will just be like more and more like understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think like you obviously gain experiences through age and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I literally messaged you right
Yeah.
right
Mike was
after
like,
I finished
am
the show.
fucking exhausted.
Yeah, I was like, this show's emotionally draining. But yeah, so I mean, fucking perfect show.
Yeah.
Everybody should go watch it. With that is our thing. Here's the group rating. There you go, future Mike. And Sage.
Oh shit! It's my pick.
Sure
Oh,
is.
do you
It
not
is a
have a
circle.
pick?
Oh, okay.
There's only 3 of us left.
Damn.
It is just a circle.
Okay, I don't have a pick. One
What's
second.
something you want to watch?
I don't know. 1 second.
Oh boy.
I have to look
All
through
right.
my list.
All right, great. Hey, so Kat, what
Yeah.
what makes it not a 10 for you?
Ooh,
What's
good question.
holding it
Good
back?
question.
I didn't feel a 10.
No, like,
That's
but
it.
like, what, like, is there like nothing where you're just like, oh, it could have done this better or this better, just like.
It's just a feeling I get.
Okay, so why an 8, not a 9?
I don't know. When I finish shows, I usually just like, all right, that's how I felt. Like that's how it was. So I don't know.
Like the ugly cry itself doesn't like get you like at least to the 9.
I did not ugly cry.
No.
I cried. I just didn't ugly cry. So maybe that if it had gotten me there. But it seems like the rewatch might be.
Maybe.
So I'll let you guys know.
I know there's a movie which is weirdly labeled as a sequel on here, but I don't think that's true. So, but
Oh, I did want to watch this,
okay.
but I don't know anything about it.
That's
Okay,
fine.
that's
What is
fine.
it?
I wanted to watch Blue Lock. That's that a soccer
The
anime.
soccer? Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. I
Okay,
already watched
I
that.
don't know how long it is.
It's 24 episodes.
Okay, it's 24 episodes. I wanted to watch it, but then I didn't.
Sounds good.
So that's what we're gonna watch.
It's about soccer
Woo!
and the friendship, I assume.
I don't know. I
that
saw like
Um,
memes about it, and apparently it's about destroying your enemies.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
perfect.
Blue Lock is it's 24 episodes, and it is basically like they're like, all right, so soccer anime, but they're all strikers.
Okay.
And
No
it's-
defense?
No, nothing.
Great.
You're a striker, and it's all about being the best striker ever.
Okay.
And like if you're not the best, it's like it's Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
Everyone plays center field. No other positions.
So people have to still play other positions. But they are all strikers.
Is the goalie a striker too?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Literally everybody. Everybody in the thing is a striker. And it's like that whole thing, and again, it is basically just the like Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last. The anime,
I see.
but with soccer.
I see.
Okay.
It is just like the most absurd shit.
I love
like it. You know, there are kids that are like, the demon inside me says I must hit the ball here.
Is it like Prince of Tennis levels of ridiculousness?
I've never seen Prince of Tennis.
Oh, okay. Well, Prince of Tennis, when it was like airing and stuff, imagine like your regular sports anime, because you know, like sometimes sports anime, they do this thing where they're like, okay, we're all playing this one sport that's grounded in reality, but all these kids have superpowers.
Okay,
and
then
they all have one specific superpower,
Sure, yeah,
right?
that's
But
about
Prince
it.
of Tennis, no, they had to take that shit to the next level.
Okay.
So instead of being like, okay, this one guy is really good at like this one hit, no. This guy, he can see it from fucking space, all right? Or he can like laser beam it into like the fucking next country.
Between regular, these kids have their one superpower and that.
Yeah.
Between
okay,
that.
okay.
I don't. As far as I remember, there is nothing where they're like seeing it from fucking space, because they like, even like, you know, where they're like the best striker within the thing. It's like, oh, he's the best within like the 10 meters from the goal.
Like a certain parameter.
Yeah, and then like the whole thing is increasing their own set of skills. It's really good. It's really
Gotcha.
fucking good.
Okay.
So yeah, 24 episodes.
Okay.
And it is technically rated higher than Anohana by 1.01.
Damn. Well, probably because it's more hype.
Yeah,
I
probably.
feel like dramas don't get like
yeah.
a lot of high ratings. 'Cause
Very, very interested to see who you guys think is best boy.
Ooh.
Oh.
Because that is, you know.
Clearly the most important topic
Oh, absolutely.
in any sports anime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
best boy is always important.
Of course.
So yeah, that's the episode. You have 5 weeks to watch Blue Lock. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, follow. Let us know what you thought about our opinions on Anohana, and if you don't think it's good, you're wrong. And tell us why you're wrong, and try to justify it, and we'll laugh at you. And don't forget to check out Kat at Kat the Moonstar on Twitch, and we will see you guys next week for whatever we talk about.
Bye.
Bye.